And I'll start with the first that is on a lot of people's minds right now, given the Roe v. Wade leak from the Supreme Court of the United States. It is something that's deeply concerning and worrying to so many people. Canadians are worried about the impact that might have on Canada. Women are worried about what that means about their fundamental rights to have control over their own bodies. And I just can't imagine how scary it must be to live in America right now for people, for women waking up yesterday and seeing that leak, and today thinking about the consequences of what that means to their own freedom of their bodies. It's horrific to think about. But in Canada, I want to be clear, we always need to be vigilant to protect the right. And that's something that we'll always be vigilant and always be monitoring. But right now, what we're up against in a real and concrete way for women in Canada is a serious concern about access. Women cannot get access in many communities, rural communities, Indigenous communities. It is impossible to find anything locally. So women are driving hundreds of kilometers. Sometimes it requires a 3-day trip to get an abortion, to access abortion services. So this is really a big concern. And while the Liberals are caught up in fighting the Conservatives over the right, and neither of them have done anything to meaningfully expand access. And so while we believe the most important thing to do is have clinics and access in a meaningful way in local communities, there are things we can do immediately. In this agreement that we have struck, that we used our power to achieve, we are pushing forward on pharmacare with legislation on pharmacare, a formulary of what would be covered, as well as a plan for bulk purchasing. One concrete thing we can do, and we could do it today if the government was willing to support, is to start our national pharmacare program with free access to contraceptives, including the morning after pill. That would be a concrete step towards expanding access in a meaningful way. We know that the cost of contraceptives are prohibitive for a lot of people. It's too much. It costs too much. If you don't have a drug plan, it's something that's a serious question about your budget. And so having that concrete step in the spirit of our agreement, which is to move forward on pharmacare, would be a concrete way to send a clear message that we believe in expanding access, that we're not just going to focus on a right without making sure people have access to that right. And what is the point of a right if it's meaningless? If the right is there, but there's no meaningful access, it undermines the whole purpose of the right. So we're proposing on the pharmacare that we absolutely believe needs to be universal and cover all medication as broad as possible. Let's start with contraceptive to show that Canada is firmly behind expanding access in a meaningful way. 7 years of Liberals, and they've said great things. They've been great comments made about the importance of protecting this right. But what have they done concretely in 7 years to in any way meaningfully expand access? I would suggest nothing. They've done nothing meaningful to expand access. And if we really want to defend this right, that is how we defend it meaningfully in Canada, is to address the question of access. And that's a starting point that is concrete, that can happen very quickly, and something that we're proposing happen right away.